Hello there, welcome to my channel. My name is Candace and I am a new-ish, I'll say new-ish eBay reseller. I've gotten over 100 sales under my belt and I have finally figured out a no-fill shipping method that I'm going to share with you in this video. There are so many ways that you can ship on eBay. And I'm sure if you've attempted to try and ship on eBay or you're kind of getting your feet wet with making sales and shipping on eBay, you have seen there are a lot of options. I think there are some excellent YouTubers that are out there who have been reselling for a long time that have amazing methods and approaches and processes in place for organization and shipping and how they've developed their business so far. I am not fully set up yet. I'm still new and I'm still trying to grow my business and be profitable. And I think sometimes when you're figuring out how to set up your shipping processes, you feel like you need to buy a whole bunch of stuff. And you got to get the label printer. You got to get, a whole set of boxes. You got to get all these things. I'm here to just tell you to pump the brakes. You do not need a ton of stuff to really kind of set the footprint on getting yourself prepared to ship stuff on eBay. And it's going to be through this approach that I give you here, my no-fail method. In this video, I'm going to cover with you 1, the tools required to ship successfully in this no-fail shipping method. 2, I'm going to create a listing with you on how to set up shipping from the front end and think about shipping when creating your listing, which is a part of the no-fail method. And then 3, I have 2 orders that I'm going to package up with you, and I'm going to actually show you what it looks like creating your shipping label appropriately after you've used the correct no-fail shipping method when creating your listing, what that looks like on the back end with 2 orders that I have, so you can kind of see it in real time. Let's go ahead and get into it. First, let's talk about the tools. There are 2 tools that are absolutely required for you to be successful shipping on eBay. And I say that because it is crucial to know and measure your items appropriately when creating your listing. And that's going to be step 2, creating the listing. So the 2 items that I have are either a measuring fabric tape like this, or you can use like a yardstick or a measuring stick. Either way, as long as you know the inches, dimensions on there, you can measure height, width, and length. And then 2, you are going to need a postal scale. And this kind of connects to it too. And I talk about this postal scale a lot in my other videos, but I am going to be real. I did not order a postal scale day 1 of my business. I should have. But if you're a person watching this video right now and you're just looking to ship 1 item you sold on eBay and you're not looking to start some full-blown business, I did use my bathroom scale from the beginning. I wanted to know how much something weighed because I had to fill it in, when creating my listing and shipping, etc. And so I used my bathroom scale. So that is not a good method if you plan to be a long-time reseller or you're like trying to start your eBay business. You need to just buy a postal scale from day 1. But in a pinch, you can use a bathroom scale to try your best to be as accurate as possible when creating your listing. So those are the 2 most fundamental, basic, required items in order to be successful with this no-fail method. The tools is the foundation. Okay, I am going to be showing you how to create your listing, and on the tail end, I'm going to be showing you how I purchase my shipping labels at home. I am going to be using the method of using the shipping carrier USPS. And I'm using USPS because that is a national standard for all of us. And quite honestly, they usually have the best pricing. And you'll see here when I go ahead and create the listing, it shows you that you have an option of different carriers. In this no-fail method, I'm going to say that you should just stick with USPS. There are very few exceptions in which I have navigated away from using USPS for my shipping carrier, and that is when I've done really large items. And I've noticed that sometimes, USPS is far more expensive than, let's say, FedEx. So those are the outliers. And you'll want to make sure that when you're creating your listing and you're choosing which shipping method that you're going to be applying to your calculated shipping, which is what we're going to talk about next, that the carrier you use is reasonable. And I will say, for the most part, for like 99% of people who sell on eBay, USPS will be fairly competitive in their pricing. Okay, now that we have step number 1 in our no-fill shipping method, which is to have the right tools, let's move on to step number 2, which is creating your listing. Okay, before we jump in to getting started, because I have my blanket right here, I want to make something very clear. If you've never shipped on eBay before, if you've already shipped on eBay before, you understand this. When a customer goes in and purchases their item and they pay for shipping, they are paying you, the seller, directly. And then from the money that they've paid you, you as the seller are then purchasing your shipping label. I don't think that a lot of people who sell on eBay realize that. And so it's really important that you're very accurate in the way that you charge for shipping. And that's why it all starts in the listing in order to be successful on the back end when you're having to purchase that shipping label. Next, I like to think of 2 rules when I am creating my listing on eBay with shipping. I like to remind myself of a rule that I like to call the Amazon rule. Amazon sells a lot of things. And if I'm going to be selling something that can also be found on Amazon, I try and keep that in mind when I am doing my pricing and what that's going to look like for someone to pay for the shipping on that item. So let's say, for example, I'm selling a Nike sweatshirt. A Nike sweatshirt, you can go onto Amazon and you can buy one brand new, no problem. And because I'm a Prime member on Amazon, I can get shipping for free. If I wasn't a Prime member, I'm sure they'd probably still offer low to no cost on shipping. That's kind of their thing, and it's quick. So I think about the Amazon rule. When I'm creating my listing here and I go to shipping and I go to fill out all the dimensions and it's going to be a certain cost to the buyer, how does that affect my pricing? So just kind of keeping the Amazon rule in mind as to what you're competing against. Then my second rule that I kind of try and keep in my own mindset when approaching the shipping area here is, does the amount that I'm charging this individual to ship this item correctly reflect the total amount that they're paying for the item in which I have listed it for? For example, if an item is a $20 item, but it costs $10 to ship, does that make sense for this item? So I try and use common sense in that regard. So if I have an item that's, I'm going to be listing for $40, but it's going to cost another $40 to ship, do those numbers make sense and add up? This is really where the nuance comes in and your judgment call as a salesman comes in. So you have to really just make sure that it all makes sense. I was having a conversation with my dad like a month and a half ago, and he was talking about how there's this item that he really loved on eBay, and he was bummed because he said it was going to cost like $150 to ship to him. And that struck a chord with me, because I was like, that is such a significant thing, is people will probably fall in love with items in your store, but if it's priced at a certain amount and then it costs a certain amount more to ship it, you might be putting yourself out of reach for people to purchase your items. So this is, of course, incredibly nuanced and a total judgment call, but these are the things I'm thinking about when I'm trying to create my listing as to what it's going to cost my buyer in the end. Okay, let's talk about that next tip, creating the listing. So I'm going to show you here the shipping area in the listing. We're not going to talk about the listing itself. It's going to be this blanket here. And forget all the other details. You've put in the pictures, you've put in the description, you've put in your title, and now you're scrolling all the way down to the bottom and you have to figure out the shipping part. Now, I'm going to show you right here, and you can see at the top, it says here, shipping recommendations are applied. You can disable autofill shipping details in See Shipping Options menu. Okay, and this is where I'm going to plead my case. There are probably many times that this will succeed, where you allow eBay to autofill the weight, package weight, and the package dimensions for you on your item because of the AI generated system where it takes listings of your similar or same item before, and it takes those previous packages and their dimensions, and then it applies it to your listing. So a lot of times I hear from people, they're like, oh, I just let eBay figure it out for me. This has failed me before. This is why I don't trust it. And I'm not saying that it will fail you every time. It has been the very few times it has failed me that I'm like, oh, that's such a bummer. I had it auto-generated, and then it ended up being that I undercharged for shipping. That's what I mean when I fail. I've undercharged for shipping, and now I'm losing more money when I go to purchase my shipping label. And so instead of using the autofill shipping details, I fill them all out manually myself. This is really key in the no-fail method to fill out your own weight and dimensions yourself. You can see here at the top right where it shows see shipping options. You can click on it and you can undo this autofill that has already been done for you. Now I've never enabled this, it just kind of already did it. So I'm assuming that if you've never disabled it, it's probably already in your account. So you can take that off if you want. I don't bother to mess with any functions because I just go ahead and I automatically mess around with this in the first place. So you'll see here it already has 2 pounds and it has 10 inches, 8 inches, and 4 inches on the autofill detail that eBay has put in for me. Okay, this we're gonna measure it right now. We're gonna look and see if it's actually 2 pounds of a package and what the rough dimensions are to see if this actually fits my personal blanket that I'm trying to sell. Okay, so this is where it's really important that you have your shipping scale and your measuring tools ready. So I'm going to take this blanket right now. I'm going to weigh it on my scale, and then I'm going to get measurements. Now let me give you some tips here. On the weight, I'm going to give you the exact weight right now. So let me go ahead and find that out. Okay, it weighed exactly the blanket itself at 41.5 ounces. I am not adding a box on the scale with it because this is a soft, malleable item and I'm going to be shipping it in a poly mailer bag, which will not add to its final weight. So I'm going to show you a second example with a box and how I kind of do that. But I just want to get the weight of the actual item since this is a soft item and the packaging materials are not going to make a difference on the back end. Okay, next I'm going to take my item and I'm going to get measurements. So I get out my handy dandy measuring tool and shows 14 inches by 9 inches by like 5. 14, 9, and 5. Okay, I have an accurate measurement of what this item's going to be when I'm going to ship it out. It is 41.5 ounces and the dimensions are 14 inches by 9 inches by 5 inches. This is where the no-fail shipping method comes in and is so crucial. Those are not the dimensions I'm going to put in to this little section here. What I am going to do is I'm going to give myself some wiggle room. And the wiggle room is negotiable, okay? And you're going to see when you do this on your own end kind of what that looks like. I say that because if you round up, by an inch versus 2 inches, that might make a big difference in price change as far as how much you're charging for shipping, depending on where you live in the country. So you kind of have to take a little bit of nuance with it. But my general rule of thumb, and this is where the no-fail method comes in, is when you make your measurements on your weight in ounces, when you go to input it for your package weight, you'll want to round up from anywhere from 8 ounces to 16, potentially 20 ounces higher than what your actual item is. Secondly, you take your dimensions and you want to add 1 to 2, possibly 3 inches on each end of those. So I'll do 14 plus either 1 or 2, 9 plus either 1 or 2, 5 plus 1 or 2 on all of your dimensions within reason, as long as it doesn't take your shipping costs and throw it way up high. You'll want to make sure that it makes sense in your rules that you're keeping in the back of your mind. Want to round up on all the dimensions. And this is where the no-fail method will help you win out and you be successful when you go to print your label every single time. If you round up a little bit with the weight and you round up a little bit with the dimensions, when you go after you make your sale and you're at home and you're actually packaging this up and you're getting the most exact and accurate data to print your label, which we want to be creating 100% accurate labels at home because we want to have a no-fail method. We don't want any snafus along the way. We don't want any chargebacks. We don't want any delays. We don't want anything returned. We don't want any issues. This is a no-fail method, okay? If you do that, when you go to print your label at the very end, which I'm going to give you 2 examples here in a moment, you'll see that you'll always come out ahead on the cost. And I want to be very clear. I am not here to try and make money on the shipping. There are some sellers who kind of build that in as their handling fees. And you can see here, you can actually charge a handling fee. And that from my personal approach, I don't charge a handling fee. I just build that into my cost of the item in which I decide to charge for it. And I'm trying to keep my costs as low as possible. I reuse a lot of material. And this is why I say it's important to see how I'm doing this as a new reseller, because I don't have a set amount of boxes. I don't know what box I'm going to use for certain things at the end. And so it's hard for me to give an exact postage. And so this is why rounding up, doing an estimated amount once you round up, once you get the exact measurements of what this item is and what it's going to be, and then rounding up on it. There is a discount that you get when you buy your postage at home online through eBay. And I personally pass that discount on to my buyers for the most part. I don't always because I do the roundup method. So for example, if I put in the dimensions and it's a calculated, we're going to talk about calculated shipping in just a moment here, but it's calculated shipping. And let's for example say it's $10 that it's going to cost this individual, and then I go in and put, because I round it up, then I go in and I put the actual dimensions, which is a little bit smaller and weighs a little bit less. Then it drops it down, let's say to $7.50. I have quote unquote made $2.50 off of the amount I charge for shipping. My aim and my goal is not to try and be profitable or profit off of shipping when I charge it to my customers. I just want a no-fail method so that I don't have to lose out on shipping, which has happened to me in the past in certain situations. And so I have come up with a no-fail approach. This is worked every single time, and it will work every single time for you should you follow this exact method. Okay, now I have explained all the whys. Let's go ahead and get into the computer and let me show you everything. So we have here the package weight. It had proposed was 2 pounds. The dimensions were 10, 8, and 4. I'm going to go in and and I just want to show you what that looks like off the bat here. So let's scroll down here, and it shows the default primary service is USPS Priority Mail. And I'm going to show you a different version of USPS that I use pretty much all the time. And it shows here that the buyer will pay with those dimensions. And if I use Priority Mail, $7.27 all the way up to $30.60. Yikes, that's a lot to pay for shipping, especially for this blanket that I will is not some, over the top $500 blanket. Let me go ahead and show you where we change that function here. So before I go in and I change the dimensions up here, let's go in and let's change the primary service just so you can kind of see. So change service here, and it has the recommended pre-selected for you. This is why I don't just trust the default. I go down here and I look at what else is available. These are the economy services available. UPS, again, a giant gap here, $6 up to $65. FedEx Ground, $6 up to $17.94. That's a little bit better. USPS Media Mail, that doesn't apply for this, but this is where I always sit. USPS Ground Advantage. And I'm going to go ahead and click it. And you can see here that the estimated shipping cost for whoever buys from me will cost them in between $6.33 up to $11.15. So I'm going to go ahead and click it. And you'll see here that it already has changed there. So now that I have my preferred method of shipping, and it shows here USPS Ground Advantage, this is basically what I ship 98% of my stuff in because it is the most competitive and it gets it to my customers in a reasonable time. Okay, it is important that you kind of watch this little area right here as this changes while I change my dimensions. So sometimes the dimensions won't affect this little area down here so dramatically. Sometimes the package weight will not affect what the buyer pays dramatically. So you could be up a couple pounds, down a couple pounds, and it doesn't affect this in a big way or at all. Or you could change a few inches here and a few inches there, and it might not change this here at all. Again, this is not us trying to figure out how it is that the mail charges exactly based on your geographic location and where you're trying to ship things. They have their own algorithm and their own system. And so what we're going to do though is input our item in a way that will not fail us in the end. So package weight here, it auto defaulted to 2 pounds, 0 ounces. It actually was 41.5 ounces, which we're going to run up to 42 ounces. And then no fail shipping method, we're going to add anywhere from 8 to 16 ounces on top of that. We'll just go with a round number of 10 ounces. So instead of having 2 pounds here, we're going to input 52 ounces, which turns out to be 3 pounds, 4 ounces. So let's go ahead and take away the 2 and then put in 3 pounds and 4 ounces. You'll see down here, it's going to possibly change. I don't think that changed much at all, which is fine. Totally good, but I'm covered, right? Even though it didn't show that it changed here, it can be a little finagly at the end. So you just want to round up just to be safe, okay? No fail method. Package dimensions. So I had my package dimensions I measured my blanket at 14, 9, and 5. We're going to add 2 inches on each end and see what that does for us. So instead of 14, we will put 16 here. And then instead of 8, we will put 11 here. And then instead of 4 inches here, we are going to put 7 inches. Okay, so you see here, $7.28 up to $16.02. That is a big difference from what it auto defaulted in the, let's see here. Oh, it doesn't show it anymore. The auto fill that it did for me. So the auto fill that it did for me for package weight and package dimensions, of course, this is based on items like mine that have sold. It undershot what I'm wanting to be safe with. So when I want to go purchase my label, and I'm going to put in the accurate shipping inches in here and package weight and stuff after I have it in my poly mailer and whatnot, this might drop down. And I might end up coming out ahead $1 or $2 on it. But again, this is not a dramatic buffer. This is just the no fail way, because you don't want to go ahead and sell this blanket. Let's say I sell it for $30 and all of a sudden, instead of it costing what I thought was going to be $6.50. Now I'm paying $7.28. I'm like, oh, great. Now I'm paying a little bit more out of pocket for shipping. You always want to come out and give yourself a buffer, a wiggle room. And this is the type of method right here. So I am going to put your attention on this. Calculated costs vary based on buyer location. There are other methods down here. I'm not going to pull them down to confuse you, but there are other methods. We are just following one method in this no fail shipping method. So you're going to hit calculated and then let that be, and then put in your package weight, your package dimensions with some wiggle room, and you are set to go. With this method, and I'm going to show you on the tail end right now, you will have success on the tail end of it. Now, before I send you off to see me package up and create 2 labels with 2 sales that I made, let me just quickly talk to you about items that you have to account for packaging material and the weight on that. It's super simple. So for example, I have here a hat that I'm going to be listing. And this hat has a nice firm brim, and so I don't want to put this in anything soft that might crunch it, because the shape is a part of its integrity. So I have to account for a box. So when I go to pre-measure the weight on it, all I do is just take a box of a size that I think is going to be a size that fits the hat. This is not the box I'll end up using. And I say this, why it's so important, because we're new doing this, or you could be experiencing this is helpful to you. I reuse boxes. I have yet to buy a new box. Why? I have a lot of people in my life who have donated their boxes to me, and that's a smart way to start your eBay business, is to recycle and reuse packaging material, because it can be really costly. So you don't know. I don't know exactly what box I'm going to be using for this. And so I try my best to just guess with the no fail shipping method of adding some inches on the side for each of those. So the dimensions, that's still straightforward. And I'll just add a couple inches on both ends when I go to put the calculated shipping in there. What I do that's different is I'll take a box and I actually add it onto the scale, and then I put the hat on top of it to see how much that weighs, and then give myself a little bit of buffer. So that way I can account for what it's going to weigh with the box that I'm going to be using, a potential box. It could be this box, or I could use this before this hat sales, I'm not sure. So that's just to kind of give you some insight on how to account for shipping materials. And if there's other stuff, if you need a whole bunch of bubble wrap, although bubble wrap is, pretty light, so you shouldn't have to account for that, but just to try and think of that when accounting for your package weight. Okay, on to the sales. Let me show you the proof in the pudding. Let me show you the success in using this no fail shipping method. Here are 2 orders that I made. I packaged them up last night, and I'm going to display them to you here in how I use the no fail shipping method on the back end. All right, let's go. Okay, we made it. We have created our listing, and we are creating our listings now with the no fail shipping method to make sure that when we get here to making the sales that we don't lose out on shipping, and if anything, we come just a little bit ahead to give us some wiggle room. I have my setup here, and I have my orders all around me, and I'm going to do some with you right now. I have a couple of things here. I have my laptop, I have my postal scale, and a measuring tool. So measuring tool I'm using, you can use either the fabric measuring tape, or you can use a yardstick, whatever you're more comfortable with. One will do. Most important thing is to use your computer and your postal scale. It is not required for you to use your computer. I just find it much easier when I'm doing all of my shipping to have the full capabilities of a web browser on a computer screen versus my phone. I actually use my phone primarily for my business, for listings, but when it comes to shipping, I do everything on my computer. Let's go ahead and get started with an order right now. Before we jump into that order, I wanted to let you know I will be purchasing and printing all of my labels, and I do for all of my orders here at home, and I will be printing them out on my printer. If you do not have a printer, do not fear when you order your postage through eBay online and it's through USPS. I can't say for the other ones because all I use is USPS for the most part. You can actually use the QR code after you purchase the label, show it to the person at the counter there when you arrive with your package, and they can print out a label and put it on for you, no extra cost. So do not think of this as a moment for you to panic to go out and have to buy a printer just to run your eBay business. Totally not necessary. I just so happen to have one. Let me go ahead and show you what the cost breakdown is after I correctly did the no fail shipping method on the front end with one of the orders here. First up, I have this West Bend slow cooker casserole dish that I sold, and I'm going to show you right here my no fail shipping method and how I had filled out the calculated shipping when I made the listing. So let's go ahead and check it out. Okay, you'll see here that I did 3 pounds, 0 ounces, and the dimensions on it, I put 14 by 10 by 4. This gave me wiggle room on both the weight. I overshot it on the weight and I overshot it on the dimensions. That way I had plenty of space for the box, and I knew I was going to need packing material for it. So that's why I filled it in that way on there. And you'll see here they only paid $7.16. So it wasn't making the shipping costs unreasonable for this item that only sold for $15. So let's go ahead and get accurate measurements and see how the final shipping label comes out to. Okay, I have it wrapped up here, and I have it in the box that it fits in appropriately with all of the packaging materials in it, because we have to account for that weight. So it's got it all in there. I have some plastic wrap around it. I got all kinds of wrapping in there, so it's nice and stuck. It's safe to go. Let's see how much it weighs with all of that. I had guessed, I had rounded up to 3 pounds on it when I had made the listing originally, because we're doing a no fail shipping method. We don't want to lose out on shipping. So let's go ahead and weigh it. It comes out to 26.5 ounces. So we're going to round up to 27 ounces in total right now. let's go ahead and put in that 27 ounces. Remember here, so it was 3 pounds. Let's go ahead and take away that 3 pounds. Put in 27, which brings us to 1 pound, 11 ounces. So we're doing good there. Then let's go ahead and take the dimensions of the box. Okay, it shows here it's 11 inches by, got my handy dandy extender, 11 by 13 by 5.5. Okay, so 11, 13, 5.5. Let's go ahead and put that in. I'm going to pop on over here. So 11 by 13 by 5.5. And we're going to see here the original payment was $7.16. Let's go ahead and see. Boom. No fail shipping method wins out again. We got ourselves down to $6.73. Again, not that far off, and that's okay. I was not looking to try and make money on this shipping. It is nice when I make a little chunk of change, but all in all, it's proven to be that, you know, when I rounded up here, and this was totally different than what I had guessed it'd be, I still won out here in my total at the end, $6.73. Okay, we are going to be shipping this beanie here of an order that I made. I already went out and found the package in which it's going to fit in. It's going to fit in this really nice poly mailer bag. It even says eBay on it, very nice. And I want to show you first how I set it up in the listing. So go ahead and take a look here. I put in the weight at 1 pound, 8 ounces, dimensions 10 inches by 8 inches by 4 inches. And you'll see that because it was calculated shipping, depending on where this person lived, that ended up costing this individual $7.72 to ship it to them. Let me go ahead and do an accurate weight and measurement on it now that I have this item sold. So hat is on there, and the hat weighs 3 ounces exactly. So before I forget the number 3 ounces, I'm going to go ahead and type 3 ounces into my computer here. So I'll erase that 1 pound, 8 ounces, and then I go ahead and I type in 3 ounces there. Okay, and then I'm going to take the hat, and I will be using it in this poly mailer. So I'll kind of fold it in half here and slip it right in to the bag. I'm not sealing the bag quite yet, and that is because I always include a receipt with a little thank you note inside here. So I'll just leave it like this as is, and then get my accurate measurements. So I try and keep it nice and tight, even in their poly mailer bags, just trying to see what size I will actually be folding this kind of up into. You try and make the poly mailers as tight together as you possibly can. You can use some tape and stuff. So I fold it down kind of like that, and you'll see here. So I'm going to measure it up this way, and I'm going to do it kind of facing myself now. So 8 inches on the height, and then you'll see here across it shows about 4 inches, and then height wise we're looking at about 2 inches. So 8, 4, and 2, those are the numbers I'm going to remember now. So now back to the computer here. Okay, and I'm going to go over here to the dimensions and fill in what I just measured, which was 8 inches, and then it was 4 inches by 2 inches. So after I've done that, I've double checked. That's my 3 ounces I weighed it at, and I'm double checking those are the dimensions that I had it at. And keep in mind here too, the original price that they paid was $7.72. So after I've done all of that, I go ahead and I hit enter on my keyboard, and that brings us down to a total of $4.69. And there you have it, proof in the pudding. Okay, let's go ahead and review the no-fail shipping method to wrap this all up. 1, you need to have the appropriate tools, measuring tools, your scale, and something to measure with. And then 2, we're making sure to create the listing with the shipping at the end in mind. Do not trust the automated dimensions that are in there. So you want to make sure that you get an accurate measuring of your items and then round up from there. Follow that method that I spoke about with the amount of ounces up and the amount of inches on the side. You can play with it a little bit to see what it is. Be sure that you're using calculated shipping. And then also at the very end there, be sure you're using the correct shipping carrier that makes sense. I use primarily USPS Ground Advantage, and I am going to just assume that that's going to be the most competitive pricing for many people who ship in the US and within the US. So that's my advice to you. If you look on there and it seems like it's out of whack and you have a better option, go ahead and shop around. But the first two parts are the most important. And that last part there is to just make sure that whatever that calculated shipping comes out to, that it is appropriate for your item. And then 3, you want to make sure that you are inputting your dimensions of your final package completely accurately in your shipping cost at the very end there, so that you can get an accurate label at home before you take it to the post. And that is because you want no shipping snafus along the way. This is the no-fail method, and it has served me well, and hopefully it can serve you well. Shipping can be confusing, and I think it's great that there are a lot of options, but sometimes when you're new, a lot of options can be overwhelming. And so there are so many ways that you can go about shipping, and there are so many other people who have found, more effective ways when they do this item versus that item, and they're able to curate their shipping approaches. Those are much more experienced sellers, and this is the no-fail method for people who are either brand new or still trying to get acclimated. And I hope that this video was very helpful to anyone out there who was needing some direction on shipping. And I'm praying that my very detailed approach was helpful to you, because this is exactly the type of content that I search for, because I want someone to hold my hand through it. And I'm just hoping that it was like that for you. You all have a wonderful day, and I cannot wait to chat with you soon.